Welcome to the Naked Marketers, everybody. My name is Pete Wright, and I am sitting on the virtual roundtable with
Megan Strand.
Megan Strand.
And Dane Christensen.
Dane Christensen. We are, in fact, not naked, but we are the Naked Marketers, and it is show number 2. Thanks for downloading. We have a lot to talk about today, and a great interview coming. I'm excited for the interview.
So great.
Yeah, it is great. We're going to be talking to, in addition to talking about very cool things, we're going to be talking to a very cool guy, Michael Pollack. He is a marketing and business development guy for SoloStream, and founder of the company, in fact, of SoloStream. SoloStream is a development house. They do WordPress themes specifically targeted for businesses who use WordPress as their platform. And so Michael's going to talk to us about, business and marketing authenticity and how he started the company and what he, was his basic business philosophy as an entrepreneur and building relationships with his clients and so on. So very, very much looking forward to that conversation a little bit later in the show. For now, what do we have to talk about, people? Where do we start?
We got to start with Google Buzz, people.
Google Buzz.
Who downloaded it? Did you guys both?
Well, it's
well, not download, but who signed up?
Right. Well, I mean, I did. I'm in it just because it's in my Gmail, right? And I don't really use Gmail because I'm a Google Apps guy. So, and it apparently Google Buzz won't come to Google Apps for another 2 months or something. But so I did it. Did you? Are you in?
No.
What?
I couldn't do it. And you know why? I'll tell you why. Because I was watching people on Twitter saying how much they hated it, and I just couldn't do it. Dane?
I did the same kind of thing. No, I saw a few mixed reviews, and I thought, I was so anxious to get Wave because it sounded cool. I've not used it once.
Yeah, hello.
And I, my Gmail feeds into my Mac mail, so I'm never really in the Gmail interface. And I, just one of those things. I didn't really feel like early adopting on this one.
I was just going to say, here we are in the bell curve again, where Peter is the early adopter.
I didn't want to adopt just to adopt.
Because Dane and I would be talking, not from experience. Tell us about your experience with Google Buzz. Are you in love with it? Do you love it?
No, I'm so not in love with it, and I feel like I'm a traitor.
I know.
I feel like a traitor.
You are the Gmail Google guy.
There are so many people who I respect who are really in love with Google Buzz. They say it's the Facebook killer. I mean, you've got Jason Calacanis saying that Facebook's value is going to plummet. We've got Scoble, who is completely taken over Google Buzz. If you follow Robert Scoble, you're good luck seeing anything else because so many people are participating in his buzzes. Apparently, his participation in Buzz has caused Google to rethink their implementation of Buzz. So it's this.
So let's actually take a step back and explain what it is. Because, I watched the video, so it's like you do updates, it links right into your existing contacts, you auto-subscribe, which is, I think, part of the problem, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a bit of a misnomer. I think a lot of folks are worried that the initial relationships that were established between you and your, buzzies, your buzz friends, it came from the relationships you've already established through Gmail. So people you follow or people you email back and forth with regularly become your initial relationships in Buzz. And, why? Well, fine. Why is that a problem? Well, apparently, you end up with these Buzz relationships between you and your accountant or you and your attorney. And those are people who you may have very close relationships with, but not the kind of people that you may, want to be interacting with on Buzz. You may not have that kind of relationship. And so, I think that was the first problem, that from there, you get people who say, no, it's not just the kind of relationship that I have with my accountant. This is a privacy issue because now when other people look at my follower list, they can see that I am, that my, who my attorney is and who my accountant and who my probation officer. Right. So I think that became the sort of second and more important public relations problem for Google. And I think they're going to address that. They implemented it this way because one of the shortcomings that many people see in these other services like Twitter and Facebook is that the growth or the follow relationships are inorganic. You have to actually seek out follower relationships if you want to grow your followers. You have to follow other people, actively. And what Buzz is trying to do is help you find the relationships that you already have. Organically without having to work so hard to do that. So whatever, it is what it is. My biggest, I don't know if it's a problem with it. The problem that I have with it is it's yet another stream. It's another live stream of conversation that is, that is just so busy. It's so busy.
Isn't it, isn't their intent that they want to sort of be the end all be all of status updates and sharing your life? I mean, they want this to sort of replace Twitter and Facebook, right? I mean,
they do, and they want businesses on it. There are some businesses that are already, establishing their Buzz channels. Did you guys do friend feed at all? Were you friend feed users?
No. Nope.
I say that in the past tense because, even though friend feed still exists as it is, it was purchased by Facebook. Friend feed. When I look at Buzz, I see Friend Feed version 1, which was, this live stream where you can put all your other streams into Buzz. So I can subscribe to my Twitter feed in Buzz. I can subscribe to my Facebook feed in Buzz. And everything when I go to Buzz, I would then see and be able to post out to all of these other services from one place. And for many people, that having that in Gmail is a good thing. But it doesn't give me anything more than Friend Feed ever did. And I don't use Friend Feed anymore. Mm-hmm. It got too busy, and frankly, the conversation was so easy for the conversation to deteriorate once the early adopters were no longer alone.
Right.
Right now the conversation on Buzz is fairly high level. You can find some good people having good conversations that are interesting if you dig a little bit. That's not going to last because it's Google and people will discover it and it's built into Gmail, and suddenly you're going to have this responsibility of curating your own, feed that I think it'll get overwhelming really, really fast. Unless Google
and that's what I was seeing on Twitter was here's how you turn off the Buzz in your inbox. Exactly. Like that's what I kept seeing, and I thought, that is not what I need. So I think we're going to be talking about Google Buzz for some time to come. So let's move on to something else newsworthy.
Okay, NBC Olympics. Anybody watching the Olympics?
Of course, everybody's watching
I'm having a great time watching the Olympics.
Let me tell you why I hate the Olympics. It's not because of the sports or the athletes. They're all very fine people. It's because of NBC. I hate NBC right now. I hate what they're doing with the Olympics. I hate the fact that I get all the gold medal updates during the day, and I find out all the performance and all the highlights, and when I tune in to primetime coverage, which is supposed to be freakishly awesome, what I get is a highlights reel that looks like a retrospective from last year where they pretend that it's all happening live from sitting in front of their fake fireplace. That makes me crazy.
Well, you know who makes me crazy is Bob Costas. I got to say, it makes me insane.
I know. I'm done with Bob.
I'm done
I
with
wash
him.
my hands of Bob.
Wow, guys. I love Bob Costas.
You do? Come on. Let's just talk about his wardrobe for a minute. I mean, please.
Okay.
There's cows.
Yeah. No.
Really?
Bob Costas
Wardrobe is what we're going to talk about?
No,
Bob Costas and Matt Lauer doing the opening ceremonies was hilarious. I think it's a comedy routine, and I was laughing.
Okay, but it's not supposed to be funny. That's why.
Okay, but wait a minute. My favorite one was the Cayman Islands. I don't know what he is, loser, who knows. And he's being introduced like he's the only athlete from the country. Bob Costas says, so born in the Cayman Islands, went to a boarding school in England, is going to Brown University, trains in Aspen, and despite this life of hardship. And man, I had to rewind it like 5 times to listen to that again. It was hilarious.
Well, what does that have to do with marketing, people? This is the naked marketing.
The commercials. Right. I mean, I think, I don't know, right? But I should have better information on this, but it appears to me that the ratings have been much higher than anticipated last night. And I think it was, you had Lindsey Vonn and Shaun White with the snowboarding competition. That was the only one that was actually live, I believe, but it beat American Idol in ratings.
That's awesome.
Pretty big deal. But yeah, apparently they're and I've the ads have been okay. We're not.
Are there any that really stand out to you?
I was trying to think of that this morning. Like, what stands out? Can't think of any. No.
Well, and it's just hard when they try to make office supplies turn into something having to do with sports when it doesn't. They try to go for that Olympic heartstring pull, and they're talking about pens or whatever it is. It seems a little bit contrived for some of these products to even be Olympic advertisers.
I've seen a few Visa ads that I liked.
Yeah, there are a lot of those.
They were okay, and there a ton of them. But some that I liked. Yeah, I'm getting real sick of that. The guy that it looks like it's a dating website commercial, and it turns out he's in love with this Bud Light and his girl. That one plays about every 10 minutes, I think. Honestly,
it's funny that you mentioned Visa though, because do you know what the product is of the one you were just talking about, the dating one? It was Bud Light. It was Bud Light. Yeah. I can't think of any other.
Although it might have been
product.
Miller Lite.
Yeah, see, there's the point. I think of Visa. I think of how much I hate NBC, and I think of Visa. So it begs the question, it's back to the Super Bowl conundrum, right? I mean, is it worth the massive spend to get your message in the Olympics?
Well, it is a cartel, by the way. I mean, Visa and NBC, it's comes to the
hard
Olympics,
to break in there.
It is kind of a cartel. I mean, it really is. If you're when Salt Lake was sponsoring the Olympics, that's, when we sort of learned a little bit more about how big a deal major sponsors were to the whole thing. And getting Visa on means everything really to the host city.
Right.
Or, to the Olympics themselves. And of course, NBC, big money. They claim they're going to be losing money. I'll be interested to see if they do. I think they were projecting a $200 million shortfall. Whose fault is that? I wonder if the ratings are so good. I don't know.
Well, I wonder. I mean, you look at the at why the ratings are so good, because people in the United States don't have any other place to watch the Olympics. You talk about cartel. Back to not to put too fine a point on it, but I do hate NBC.
Well, and so do you think
the Canadians are going through? I talked to a friend of mine in Canada who says, our coverage has been absolutely stellar. Not only do we have it on all day long live, but each of the four major original Canadian tribes have had all of the coverage translated, not just kind of machine translated and teleprompted, but they have color commentators for each of those languages live the whole time. I mean, all day long. And we get primetime NBC. That's what we get. So why are the ratings so high? Because no one can watch it anyplace else. They're all being filtered into this 8 to 11 time
So it's
slot.
a strategy, and if a lot of people feel the exact same way you do, Pete, then
Then why did they beat the American Idol last night?
Yeah, and what else could they have done, right? I mean, seriously, to go into the Olympics and say, well, we're going to lose money here, and again, who knows if they really are, but could they at some point have said maybe a different strategy would make that not like maybe it's not inevitable. Maybe it's not inevitable that we're going to lose money on this. How can we switch this up? And I assume smart people, since so much money is involved, have thought through it. But then again, it's NBC, and they've done some things so not smart as an organization this past year that you really wonder, who's involved in this kind of decision making.
Yeah.
Because it just can't be inevitable that you're going to lose money. It just can't be.
Yeah. Well, it's so far. I mean, let's go back to in terms of the coverage. Does it? Do you think they've done a good job with the coverage of the sports during their prime time?
Well,
at fear of having our heads chopped off if we say yes.
Yeah, right. Well, Pete,
knowing what the answer should be.
Well, Pete,
I'll share my real feeling later. For me, it depends on what I'm watching. Honestly, I was excited to see Lindsey Vohn's thing. I really was. I thought it was fun to watch. I know they cut a few things out that, people that weren't going to medal, and they cut it. Maybe they could have cut it more. I don't know. I don't know how much they need to be, going back and forth between sports. They sort of pick the ones they're going to showcase and show the whole thing, more or less, slight edits. I was, again, that women's downhill is just crazy sport. And then the half pipe, I DVR'd it and skipped the middle part. Really wanted to see Shaun White. He was amazing. Some of that stuff drags on. So, I don't know. I haven't found myself questioning it, though. I haven't found myself saying, wow, NBC really is sucking at covering this stuff.
You just wait, Christensen. Tonight I'm going to haunt your dreams.
And what's tough, though, really, so I don't know how nitpicky you want to get on this. And we're way away from marketing, I think. But you get these non-sportscasters who are, however, an expert in the sport, being the color commentary. And, oh, man, it can be just super annoying. Like, wow, they're, tenth of a second off there. You can really see that mistake. Well, none of us
can't see that mistake.
No one can see the mistake.
Unless he falls down on his face, I can't see the mistake.
I mean, I don't know how else you'd announce
Unless you
something.
see, what's his name? The short track speed skater who
Apollo Ono.
No, the other guy who took I guess what was it, silver or bronze or something. The guy who his last training race months ago
he fell and gashed his own leg with his own skate.
That's what I'm saying. Unless there is blood pumping out of your femoral artery, I didn't see the mistake.
Right.
I mean,
thoroughly annoying.
And we can laugh about it now because he's a medal winner, and congratulations on that win.
And moving right along.
Yeah, I don't know.
We didn't talk about that Facebook just overtook Yahoo as the most visited site in the United States, so now it's number 2.
Can I just say something about that?
Please.
I haven't actually intentionally visited Yahoo in about 5 years.
I agree.
Who goes to Yahoo anymore?
I will tell you who goes to Yahoo. The people who search and don't pay attention to what they're clicking on. That's who goes to Yahoo.
Wow. It just seems like
I've found myself there for Yahoo answers to questions I've asked Google. And the only other time I've been there was to make sure that a business is registered on Yahoo Local, which I don't know if anybody's going to find them once they are, but yeah, I've done that.
So does this, given the fact that, maybe we are not good indicators, but does this tell us anything substantive about, Facebook that we didn't already know?
Nope.
I mean, Yahoo is already sold out. It's, I guess Bing is going to be doing providing Yahoo's search.
Bing is like eating up everybody.
Well, they're putting skin in the game. That's good news.
Yeah.
And the search is good. I think in terms of Yahoo finding a business model, it's really too bad because, Yahoo's search was also good until they forgot that they were a search company.
Right. Well, and I think that's what Yahoo's been like the king of copycat. It's like...
Yeah. Which is a real problem, and I think that may be
because eBay is really big now, and
exactly.
It's like that's not I don't know.
Well, that's the illustrative point here, right? As soon as you forget what your business is,
yeah, good point.
That is bad.
From a branding perspective, if you ask the average person on the street what is Facebook, they're going to have a good idea of what it is. If you ask them what is Yahoo,
you can't ask Yahoo what that is. They don't know.
Yeah, and they've got got Yahoo Real Estate as a good real estate search. I don't know. They've probably got a few other things. They bought up a whole bunch of technologies, but outside of being a search engine that seems completely unnecessary. What is it? What have they really defined or branded, or where are they getting traction other than just sort of losing? They're a glob of something that I think the average person couldn't really define in an effective way, and nothing really rises to the top as being an essential component, an essential service that Yahoo offers. And by the way, a quick little complaint here: Yahoo Local, if you want to get your listing on there, unlike Google, all you're going to get is a very basic listing unless you want to pay money to have your logo or any sort of enhanced information about your business. I thought that was a little risky move on their part.
Well, I mean, when you're not making money any other way.
Sure, yeah, gotta make money somehow.
That's too bad. I feel bad for Yahoo, but not that bad. I mean, this has been a long, painful decline. Here I am on the Yahoo homepage, and search is provided by Bing, and the recommended sites are Gmail.
Oh, that's funny.
Really? So I don't know. It doesn't surprise me that Facebook has taken over.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. But it's still cool that they're number 2 now.
But it is cool they're number 2. And I don't know, how are you guys using Facebook these days?
Well,
silence, absolute. Really?
A quick thank you to Megan on the last show for really railing on this block apps thing. That's been helpful. I had not blocked apps before. I had hidden, annoying people, but I hadn't blocked their apps. And I've got
it's so
a
nice.
relative somewhere who's really, it was really timely because right about the time we got off that show, I got maybe 10 different, app ridiculous
Mafia War,
things.
Farmville.
Oh my gosh, they were mostly Farmville. Blocking apps. And then I showed my wife and she was delighted. So, hey, that's sure a great tip.
It is a great trick.
Blogging apps. I haven't been super active outside of that, though, but I'm trying to do a little better job with my Facebook business page. And that's partly, Peter, and thanks to you and what you were talking about last time about, sort of committing to a daily, and I haven't gone that far, but committing to, daily updates and watching the traffic sort of come in.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's one of those things we need to talk about with Michael, which is this idea of looking at, if you're gonna go in this direction, you need to commit and
right.
see and test those results. So I'm still happy with Facebook and I still think it's worth being there. I'm really curious how now that we have other services like Buzz in the market who seem to be intentionally going after Facebook in a more sort of open capacity. What's going to happen there.
I like the new interface, by the way. That was a subtle change.
The new Facebook interface? Yeah.
Peter felt personally slighted that he didn't get an email from the CEO letting him know he was going to change.
No, that's not entirely true. I just think it's funny that it's one of those things that surprises me about a company that has as big a user base as Facebook, that they still do these tiny iterative changes as frequently as they do. And I think that's a really good thing. I think it's a good thing that they iterate and develop constantly. I think that's a sign of active growth and concern. I think that's terrific. I think that it's just such a funny thing that it seems like every 2 weeks I log in and good Lord, they've done it again. Where did this go? Now how do I get where
Can I just tell you a story about Facebook?
Sure.
And this is just a little personal thing for me. So there's this guy from high school. Did I already tell you this story?
Well, I don't know.
Okay, so there's this guy from high school who I didn't like in high school, and he's one of those people that I don't know why I'm following him on Facebook.
What's his name?
I'm not telling you because we're on the internet. But so he's got this business, auto something business, and he puts these posts on Facebook like, I do paintless dent repair, great, cheap, all caps, like, I'm good too. Call my number. And all caps, and he posts these periodically. So, being the nice person that I am, I emailed him and said, "Hey, how's that Facebook advertising working for you? If you want to talk about taking your Facebook advertising to the next level, let me know. I'd be happy to talk to you about that." Nothing. I got nothing.
Well, he's probably very happy with his.
And
Facebook
right after I sent that email, there was another post with the exact. I'm like, that can't be working for you.
when your first instinct when you read it is to pitch him on your own service, that's not a good thing.
No, it's not. So anyway, I don't think we need to keep talking about that yet.
All right. Well, you know what?
I'm going to throw one other thing out that I do think, and maybe this is probably another show, but the Facebook ads, I think there's still a huge opportunity for local businesses that seem to not be adopting this.
Totally.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I think we could do a whole show.
We need to get somebody
Yeah.
on from Facebook to join us and talk about that. I think you're right. Huge opportunity. But for now, I think we should bring on our distinguished guest interview here. Shall
Awesome.
we? All right, let's do it. We're going to be talking to Michael Pollack. Again, he's in marketing business development now and founder of SoloStream.com. Michael Pollack. Now, Michael is according to the website, Michael, you are a marketing and product development guy for SoloStream.com. What does that mean, Michael? What does it mean that you're marketing and product development guy?
Well, SoloStream is basically a WordPress theme seller. We develop and sell WordPress themes. And so I develop all the themes, and although there are a couple of other people on the team, I'm pretty much the center of attention as far as developing themes. So that kind of covers the product development aspect of it. As far as the marketing, I'm sort of the front guy. I do most of the writing on the company website. I do most of the networking. Not that I do a lot of networking, but most of the online networking for SoloStream, and that's the extent of our marketing. And SoloStream was built and has survived primarily on search engine marketing, and so organic search engine marketing, and so I handle a lot of that on the site as well.
Well, that's a fascinating sort of genesis of the company and sort of how you've built momentum. I think I found you because I am on your list, and you just sent out a new theme that you guys have been working on, which is just another in a long line of really beautifully designed and architected themes, and so we started a little email conversation about kind of what you do, and I think as we started digging into more about SoloStream, what we really got interested in is this idea of how you guys tell your story and some of the business development writing that you have done and the philosophies that you appear to carry over. And so I think we'd like to start with that. I know Megan has been chomping at the bit to kick off the first question about your authenticity, Megan.
Yeah, Peter sent the link to SoloStream directly to your About page. So the first thing I actually read about SoloStream was your mission, what we do, and then why we do what we do. And I'm just fascinated with this because you come right out and say we're about freedom. We love freedom. We love helping entrepreneurs and small businesses do what they love to do, and we love to give them the freedom to do that. And then we love the internet and technology. And oh, by the way, we have these really great WordPress themes, and I love marketing from that perspective. And we were looking at your blogs and business development topics, and I just thought it was so cool because when you start with we're about freedom in the internet, then it gives you license to talk about freedom in the internet in a lot of different ways, in ways that benefit your customers way beyond providing really cool themes, which you obviously do. So I was just hoping you could talk a little bit about that, and does that play into how you write and market, and is that how you start your marketing message? Is for you, is that where it comes from?
Yeah, I think everything nowadays especially starts with authenticity. People, when they're online, and this evolution started probably a good 6 to 7 years ago, with people really expecting authenticity from the vendors that they find online. So when you go to a website and you read sort of that corporate speak, the stuff that's been run by the PR department, and it's really not coming from a person, but it's coming from a company, I think people have really grown tired of that. And again, that's something that started way back when blogs really started to become a well-used tool, I guess you could say. So when I started SoloStream, and by the way, for the record, I no longer own SoloStream. I actually sold it in September 2008.
Okay.
2009, 2008. And I've just kind of stayed on with them, helping them out and continuing to handle marketing and product development. So, so back to when I started SoloStream, I just wanted to do it in a way that was authentic, that was an expression of who I am, and not do it as some sort of obscure or corporate speaking kind of person. I just wanted to be real with people, and as much as possible, people want to do business with other people. They don't want to do business with a website. They don't want to do business with a company. And that's kind of my philosophy on marketing. And I think it's become pretty much a standard in the sort of Web 2.0 plus world that we live in.
But I think there's a lot of people out there that don't get that. And as a result,
I agree.
You see a whole lot of junky clutter out there, and people wonder why. And then you read something like this that obviously reflects who you are. You did a great job with that. So I was just really impressed with that.
Yeah, thank you.
It's a funny thing. It seems like the, and this is part of the genesis of the Web 2.0, for lack of a better word, movement in this context, is that the people who seem to write with the greatest authenticity are the people who got burned elsewhere, or have experienced the sort of big company, hyper-controlled messaging, the review and approve, at every turn sort of business communications process, and this is what comes from that is this reactionary sort of the pendulum is swinging the other way, and we have the ability to communicate from our hearts about what it is that we do, and there's a lot of power to that.
Absolutely. It's just like I said, I think more and more people really expect that, and the ones who don't expect it, I think it's a great surprise when they discover a company that does business that way and that communicates that way. And so you can't lose.
Michael, this is Dane. It is really impressive that we've kind of got two things going on here. One is you've established these principles that you sort of operate under and help establish this authenticity, but you've also then followed it up with these great blogs, and it's maybe one of the best websites I've seen where a company offering a product or service is incorporating active blogging, in addition. And Megan, mentioned that's like, oh, by the way, we do WordPress themes. But I'm curious, from your perspective, why do you think, or from your experience, why do you think businesses fail to do that so often, fail to have a blog or to do well with it?
I think there's probably a number of reasons. One reason is they just may not understand the value of doing a blog and connecting with people on a more personal, more authentic level. So that's probably one big reason, is they just, for lack of a better word, they're kind of ignorant to the value there. Another thing is some people just don't believe in blogs. Some people just don't believe that that's the way to go. They have a sales page. They have, sort of well-defined product pages, and they kind of keep a more of an anonymous kind of, we're the company, you're the customer, and they have that sort of that screener, that filter up between their customers and potential customers.
I'm curious from you, Pete. I'm curious how you feel about what he just said, because I think he's making perfect sense. I think he is, but I'm curious what your opinion is. But I'm also, Pete, wonder if you have some examples of where you, or at least some ideas of what you think is a really bad approach for a business when it comes to blogging.
Well, I certainly do. I think in my experience, there are two ways that companies, who are new to blogging, who hear that they need to blog, two ways they get into it. And to take the second part of your question first, and what they end up doing is republishing press releases in a blog feed, other company announcements, and that kind of becomes the de facto blog for the organization. What can we put on the blog? What other news do we have about the organization? And I think that's why the SoloStream blog and those companies that do it well stand out, because they're the companies that are giving away useful content that is related and yet not so related that it doesn't reach a wide audience. I think the other thing, to go back to the first part of your question, the other reason that I think companies don't jump into blogging is this idea of fear. Fear that is really the number one thing that I get from my clients. And Michael, I'm interested in your thoughts on this, is, oh my gosh, I certainly don't want to start a blog, particularly a blog where people could comment, because what if they say something scary? What if they say they hate me? What if they say they hate my company? We want to disable comments. We want to be very, very sort of careful about what we post on the blog. Everything has to be approved. Messaging has to be approved. And I think what we're seeing is the companies that do it well are really swinging the other way.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, who wouldn't want to know if they have an unhappy customer? I don't get that whole line of thinking. And besides, if they're not posting it on your blog, they're posting it somewhere online. They may be posting it on their own blog, in a forum, but I mean, you can do a search on almost any company, and if there's some negative stuff out there, you're going to find it. I mean, Google is everywhere, and there's really no way around it. So I just don't understand companies who take that approach to trying to keep their dirty laundry from getting out there. The fact of the matter is, if you have dirty laundry, then you should clean it, fix the problems that are making people unhappy, and stop trying to hide it.
Well, yeah, I mean, you just hit on kind of the double-edged sword of it all, right? It's this idea that, you may not want somebody to post negative comments on your own site, but it is far worse for your online image to have somebody posting negative things on their site and linking to you.
Right.
So, it's just that's kind of a handy tip. And it leads me to a question that I've been jawing over here. Michael, when you're talking to, over the years that you've been designing for business in particular, when you're talking to businesses and business owners, what are the key things that you tell them they need to be considering for their online presence? We've already talked about an authentic blog. Where do you go from there?
Boy, that's a good question. That's kind of the big overall picture is you need to communicate with authenticity. You need to very clearly communicate what your product or service is all about, and the rest of it is building relationships and adding value. And I think, Pete, you mentioned earlier that a blog, and you didn't say it directly, but you implied, a blog is a really great content delivery mechanism, and that's really what it's all about. It's a relationship builder, and it's a mechanism to put content out there, helpful content, valuable content, content that will attract customers, readers, new relationships, and once you have your positioning of your company or of your product down, and you have a solid product delivery process in place, the rest is just connecting with people, just getting out there and building relationships. And there's just not much better than having a blog as sort of the central point of that effort.
Can I say, Pete, you brought up fear. I know we're shifting a little bit to, let's get beyond just the blog as the only, I guess, focus of the content. But that fear thing I think affects everything. And I, as Michael's talking about, gosh, why wouldn't you want to know these things? And, he's really sort of the way I see it is it's a company whose real, essence or ethos is, we are this. We are communicating. We are not afraid of our customers and their opinions, and we are not afraid of our opinions. We're not afraid of what we have to say, and we're not afraid of being overly, corporate's a bad word, but, careful, I guess, overly specific about every word that we put out. And I've just worked for a great many companies who are terribly concerned about every line on any press release or on a website or a brochure gets combed over, passed through 5 committees. And it is such a shift for that company to say, and blogging is okay, and it's natural conversational language, and it's an interaction with your customers, and we're here to listen, and we are not in total control of a few specific words. So that thing, fear, it's just, I don't see a lot of companies getting over that anytime soon.
Well, fear, the only thing that fear does best is, create more fear and paralysis. That is what I think at least the way it hits me, what you've described is corporate communications offices that are paralyzed to take any action whatsoever without, being vetted. I think this trend is bucking that, and it's really refreshing.
I'm curious to know, Michael, if you're obviously starting with this great, what we're all about, and are you finding that your customers resonate with that as well? Are your customers sort of the same kind of small business entrepreneur people who say, okay, here's what I'm about, and I need your product because it helps me communicate that? Do you find that, or is it mixed? You've got some people who are a little bit scared. They think you've got a cool product. And then you've got others who sort of resonate with that very authentic message and try to do that with their customers as well.
Well, I would say that people buy and use our products because of the product itself more so than necessarily what we stand for or what we represent. Mm-hmm. When it comes to having a website, it's really sort of a visual, there's a visual appeal there that sort of trumps everything. So if we put out a WordPress theme that is not visually appealing, it's just not going to sell, regardless of what it says on our About page. If we put out a WordPress theme that has some broad aesthetic appeal, again, it doesn't really matter what it says on our About page, as long as people like the look of it and they say, hey, my website can look like that. There's a good chance that they're going to buy it. Now, there's probably a small percentage of people who make their decision to buy a theme from us versus buying a theme from one of the other many theme providers out there because they resonate with how we do business and how we communicate. But and I don't have any statistics to back this up, but I would say that percentage of people is relatively small. I would say it's more about the product, and it's more about people seeing something and saying, I want my website to look like that, or I want my blog to look like that.
Well, it's interesting you say that, and Dane, I want you to talk about this. I just had this conversation with a client regarding direct mail, and they just have an urgent need to get a postcard out. And it's a postcard that is not part of any campaign to a brand new list. And, we're expecting, sub 0.2% response rate on this. It's an untouched list to non-customers. And yet, in my experience, mailing to and emailing to people who are your customers who have bought from you once, you get an order of magnitude increase in response rate, in people who want to stick with you. So once they've been with you and know what you're all about and know your product, they stick with you. I mean, Dane, you're the data guy. Am I just making things up?
Yeah. I don't have any statistics on response rate, at least on anything recent. It's certainly true, though, that, a direct mail response rate to a list that you've never used before, or even one that you have, you're mailing to people who have never been your customer. It's really all just, it all breaks down to a familiarity with your company or your business or your people or, whatever. And if you're coming at somebody out of nowhere with a message that they've just never connected to before, that person's propensity to respond is at least, you could say from a direct mail perspective, maybe we go from 0.4% response rate to 1.7 or something like that. But it's really just kind of general, a marketing rule, I think, that underlies the whole thing that says your very most important, or valuable, I guess, from a marketing perspective, target is your current customer. Current because you want to keep them, current because you might want to upsell them or sell them more, current because they may refer other people to you. And then it goes to past, somebody, who in the past was a client or a customer at some point. And then it goes to somebody who's talked to you, but they never bought. You might call it an unconverted lead. And it just goes back from there. And if you aren't focusing on those categories at the top first, you're missing the big opportunity.
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
And it might even be, I read this on Seth Godin's blog last week, that he had this whole approach as the greatest marketing thing ever is to deliver above and beyond for your current clients. Wow them, which is certainly not a new concept, but he just felt like sort of whatever, railing on it that particular moment that, wow, I have this brilliant concept, people should try this. Don't underdeliver, don't give them the minimum, possible or minimum expectation. Give them something more and see what happens. Call it your marketing program.
Yeah, I think that gets back to what Michael just said that really stuck with me. It's that, people might, and I'm only thinking really right now about my own behavior, right? When I am working on a project for a client, I have maybe 2 or 3, sort of themes that I start working with, and I may start visiting SoloStream or Studio Press or whoever because I like the visual style and because the theme is easy to work with. I come back because it's a trusted relationship, and I think that's the point of all this is figuring out what is the best way to build a trusted relationship with your clients, a repeat purchase relationship.
I would agree with that, definitely, and I think we just kind of recently started doing an email newsletter, and it's something that hadn't been done much over the past year, and that's that newsletter goes out to people who've bought something from SoloStream or who have opted into our email list, and if they don't come to your blog every day or when you publish something new, that's really the only way you have to connect with them, and that's sort of like, that's the only way to reach those people. So you have to have some sort of mechanism in place to be able to not only initiate a relationship with people, but to maintain that relationship in an authentic way that doesn't sort of abuse the relationship, because people can hit the unsubscribe button very easily, and so you can't really, you don't really want to take advantage of looking at that person as a lead or a possible sale. I mean, it's really, you need to continually deliver value, whether it's through a newsletter, through your blog, whatever, because if you don't, the next competitor out there will, and you'll lose that relationship.
Michael, would you say that from a marketing perspective, and you probably have other reasons for blogging than just what we'd call marketing, but would you say the number one reason for your company and maybe for other companies to blog is to establish authenticity, or what other things would you say, there's the marketing benefit to blogging? So a couple of other things maybe besides establishing authenticity. Or Peter, if you have any thoughts on that. Or Megan, of course.
I think whether you establish authenticity or not is probably an offshoot of what the real purpose is, which is to sort of establish and nurture a relationship with that particular person. And I think that's what's really valuable about blogs, is that you can sort of nurture a relationship, and if you do it the right way, which means you kind of show up and just be whoever you are and continuously deliver value through your content, and you don't have to write the way our about page is. You just have to write the way you are. And for some people that might be straight-laced and buttoned down, and there's going to be a sort of a group of people out there who resonate with that and who connect with that. People connect with people who are like they are. And so I think the key is to just show up as whoever you are, and build a relationship that way.
Well, and I think you've also established yourself as an expert on WordPress. I mean, not only are your blog posts, I mean, it's not like you're just sort of waxing philosophical about freedom and the internet. I mean, you have really helpful blog posts about, the top 10 plugins for 2010 and improving your search engine rankings. I mean, you're really, like you said earlier, you're providing value when you're touching your customer, and that's how you're creating that relationship, because you're not just saying, hey, here's our new theme, buy this, here's another theme, buy this, we just updated this theme, buy this. I mean, you're constantly coming back and just giving them more value because they already have a WordPress theme, so you're supposing they're using it. And WordPress is a sort of platform that changes and you can do a lot with it. So by establishing yourself as that expert, that's where that relationship comes from, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I think if you can provide content obviously our market is people who are using WordPress and people who are interested in starting a website or a blog, and they, what better platform is there than WordPress to do that? At least in my opinion. So we want to win as many people over to WordPress as possible, and also to do whatever we can to help them better use WordPress and make it a tool that's a central part of the business.
Okay. Can I ask, Michael? One of the reasons certainly that a lot of companies blog is in the hopes that those would be shared, and that somehow people might find your website or find your product because you've got such a great post that people shared it. Do you make without giving anything away, and you can you can share only as much as whatever you want to share, but we've got the option at the bottom of your blogs, of course, to share. And I'm just wondering if you guys, if you feel like you do a pretty good job of sort of watching that and seeing which ones become the most popular or are shared the most, and does that help shape future content?
I don't really, we don't really watch it that closely. I mean, I get Google alerts anytime SoloStream is mentioned in or shows up in Google. I watch TweetMeme and things like that to see if posts have been shared. But that's really all I do to see if our stuff is out there getting shared. I mean, I think that the primary driving force of the content that I create is, will this help a WordPress user? Will it help somebody do something that that could be challenging? Like, there's 8,000 WordPress plugins out there, so why not tell people, hey, these are my top 10 favorites that I think you should be using, and somebody else is going to have their own top 10. So, but yeah, to answer your question, we don't really track it. We just kind of keep a loose. What I do at least, is I just kind of watch the traffic over a period of time, and I look at what's getting the most traffic, and that's kind of the way that I track things.
That makes sense. Okay, thank you.
Speaking of plugins and things that are shiny, I'm looking at your site, and I'm a little bit fascinated only because of what seems to me to be something that is missing. I'm wondering if this is a strategy. When I go to SoloStream, I don't see all the badges for Twitter and Facebook and Buzz and Dig, and none of those things are. I don't see any of the big follow me badges. Do you guys do you do that intentionally, or are you just not there yet?
Yeah, exactly. We're just not there yet. We're not really trying to actively build a Facebook fan page because, frankly, I'm still on the fence whether that's even something that's worth the investment. As far as Twitter, I'm not a big Twitter guy. I don't use it that much. We have our content that gets dumped into Twitter for the people that are following us, but Twitter is like a very social kind of tool, and frankly, I'm just not very social. I try to connect with people. I try to connect with people where and when I can, but it's not something that sort of drives me. I'd rather spend my time trying to create content that that will have, I think, a longer term impact and sort of a deeper impact. But yeah, that's the big reason is we just haven't made a decision that, okay, we're going to really focus on Twitter and Facebook and all those, and so that's why you don't see them on the site.
Well, and I noticed that you've got pretty good, I mean, really very active blog participation. That's a great thing. I mean, I would think if you're posting blogs hoping for comments and getting nothing, maybe you'd say, well, gosh, what else could we do here? But you're obviously connecting with your customers, and people are appreciating what you're saying, and you've got people responding back to your posts.
Yeah, we get a few comments. I mean, I think for the level of traffic that we get, we don't get that many comments relative to just how much traffic we get. And that's no big deal. I mean, that stuff comes with time. But I think the other thing that what you don't see on the site is we have a really active support forum that's open only to our customers. It's not open to the general public. And so a lot of stuff happens on the support forum that just doesn't even show up on the site. And I think that's where a lot of the sort of connecting and relationship building with our existing customers goes on, because the guys that are in the forum, and I do a little forum stuff, but Alistair, who basically runs the forum, he just does an amazing job of keeping people happy. He goes above and beyond what we sort of decided we were going to do with the forum, which was we want to support our themes, but we're not trying to really teach people how to use WordPress. And that's something that we sort of wanted to do, but ultimately he ends up doing it anyway. He ends up giving a lot more support than what we sort of initially decided we wanted to do. So
the forum is such a key, support forum is such a key value to that earlier proposition about treating your best customer, your current customer, as your best customer. And I think one of the philosophical arguments that you get into with folks about all the other things that you could do outside of your blog, like Twitter and Facebook and all those different sites, is do you de-emphasize your own website does your presence elsewhere come at the cost of your own website? And I think I think we often get so excited about the new shiny stuff that doesn't really come with any tangible benefit. I think it's interesting to see that you guys are taking the long view of really seeing what the benefit is, and I think that's prudent, to really watch and see what is the business performance that you get out of these tools.
Right.
This is I think we've exhausted our time today, but Michael, I want to thank you so much for taking the time on short notice to come and chat with us for this half hour and give us some insight on what you did with SoloStream and continue to do. And again, congratulations on just a continuous stream of really quality themes for WordPress, and it's very impressive work.
Thank you, and thanks for having me.
It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you very much, Michael.
Thanks, Michael.
My pleasure. Thanks, Megan. Thanks, Dane.
Great conversation with Michael Pollack. That guy, he is soft-spoken and smart. Don't you get that feeling?
Very smart.
Very smart.
But not guy. Like smart that he gets it too, not just like book smart.
Doesn't want to rub your face in it smart. No, right. He's a good guy. Let's move on to picks. What do we have?
Dane?
Yes. Well, my pick is Hootsuite.
Love Hootsuite.
Why do you love Hootsuite?
What
is Hootsuite, first of all?
Yeah, what is
Okay, yeah, social media manager. And really the best interface I found. I went to it because apparently a friend of mine up in Vancouver now works for them, and I thought, well, I should check them out. I don't know why, but I hadn't heard from them or about them anywhere else, which is kind of odd. But it loaded it up, and I've looked at a few others. I don't know, Ping FM, and a few other things that, or Ping, I guess, that just had clunky interfaces and sort of, all kinds of very obscure social media options, platforms I'm never going to get close to. This is a clean, fun to use interface and gives you a lot of control. And it's the first one, and I'm probably just missed something, but the first one that I've seen that allows you to manage not only your Facebook personal page, but any fan pages that you have separately, so that you can sort of multi-broadcast to LinkedIn, your Facebook page, not your personal page, and a great Twitter manager, lists and ways you can break out what you're following and how you're utilizing Twitter within Hootsuite. Much better than using Twitter itself, in my opinion. So all in one, I think it's fabulous.
Now, Megan, you're using Hootsuite too, right?
I am, and I'm primarily using it for Twitter right now. But yeah, I was using TweetDeck, which I liked at first, but then it just started bugging and started crashing, and it was horrible. So my dear friend Pete Wright turned me on to Hootsuite.
I did.
And I love it. And yesterday, because it's an online tool, so there's no application to download, but yesterday it wasn't updating anything from Twitter. And so what do I post on Twitter? What up, Hootsuite? Why does it say Twitter API is bad or whatever it said? And Hootsuite posts, I'm sure not back to me, but back to everyone who's having this issue. They say, we're aware of this and working on it, which I love. I love seeing companies do that. It just makes me so happy.
They seem to be a solid team, and I'm glad you mentioned that, Megan. That it's TweetDeck. The thing I didn't like about it was I was running a new app, and I think it in my case, I don't know why, but it seemed to be kind of a RAM sucker, and I didn't enjoy having that thing open on top of 800 things I have open. To have this website open, I'm sure it uses some RAM as well, but it doesn't really seem to affect any of my other performance.
Exactly.
You know what I like so much about Hootsuite? I've been using it for a while now, and I switched. I go back and forth between Tweety, the dedicated app from 8bits that I do dearly love. It's very elegant. But what I love so much about Hootsuite is this ability, as you said, Dane, to control each account individually, that I can post to my a business account or a client Twitter account and not my personal account, and have it in such a really easy interface. But even more important than that is the built-in statistics package that you can go in and look at the most, the links that you forwarded out to your Twitter feed and see what people are really clicking on. What are the things that people are really resonating with, and begin to build your own sort of editorial calendar for how you want to engage with your audience on Twitter. And I think that is a really important addition to the suite. And the way the interface works is it really is just very obvious how that how the stats work, and you can get to it very quickly from from right within the interface. I think it's great. And the Hootlet, the little bookmark bar or bookmarklet that you can put into your bookmark bar is so full featured that you can finally, schedule tweets to send later right from the page that you want to send. So say I'm on, don't know why I would be there, but yahoo.com, and I want to, post that to my Twitter feed. I click on the Hootlet, it opens up the link shortened already through their hourly URL shortener, and I can say, I want to post this tomorrow. If you're posting a lot of tweets, that's a great way not to overwhelm your followers.
I like the send later too. Because really, more people should be using that, because I hate it when I start following somebody and they take up my entire column because they're posting every 5 minutes.
Right. I totally agree. It is a great tool, so I highly recommend
Love it.
I think it's fascinating that we come up with a pick and all three of us have the same pick on the same day.
Yeah, that's actually pretty weird.
And I want to give a shout out to my friend Dave Olson, aka Uncle Weed, who is the new community director at Hootsuite.
That's
it's
Uncle Weed.
Awesome.
That's Uncle Weed.
I've been following
director.
Uncle Weed forever.
Yeah, that's the man.
Awesome.
Uncle Weed. That's his Twitter name.
He is so funny.
Very funny.
I'm following him right now.
So
very,
funny.
Very old friend and
That's
a
cool.
fabulous guy.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah, he is very funny. Doesn't know me, but Uncle Weed, big fan. Big
Nice
fan of your work,
picture.
brother.
That's
The
awesome.
most active social media user that I couldn't even think of. I mean, really, blogging, social media, podcasting. This guy is all over it.
That's
That
awesome.
is awesome. Well,
this has been awesome.
It's been a good show, you guys. Thank you for your time. Any closing remarks before we sign off?
No.
Nothing? That's it? Where do we find you, Dane?
After that silence. Cut that out, please. All right. Dane Christensen, Strike 10 Media, strike10media.com. That's 10 as in 10. Or on Twitter, Altadane.
And Megan?
I am at encouraged.com. That's encouraged with an I. Or on Twitter at Megan Strand.
And I am at fifthandmain.com or on Twitter at Pete Wright. And so friend us up. We would love to hear from you. Let us know what's going on in your marketing world. And we will catch you next time on The Naked Marketers.